Hello, welcome back to the reading of the poem of the Man God, written by Maria Valtorta, Volume 3, Chapter 306, Part 2, An Evening at Home in Nazareth. Human science is still ignorance, John. The teacher was not inadequate, but what they had given him in order to be a teacher was not sufficient. Poor human science, how mutilated it looks to me. It makes me think of a deity which was honored in Greece. Only pagan materialism could believe that the Greeks would possess the goddess of victory forever, because she was wingless. Not only they stripped victory of her wings, but they deprived us of our freedom. It would have been better if she had had her wings, in our belief. We could have believed that she was capable of flying and stealing celestial thunderbolts to strike our enemies. But in the state she was, she gave us no hope, but only dejection and sadness. I could not look at her without suffering, and she seemed to be suffering and looked humiliated by her mutilation. She looked a symbol of sorrow, not of joy, and she was. And man does to science what he did to victory. He cuts off its wings, which could achieve supernatural knowledge, and thus give him the key to discover many secrets of knowledge and of creation. They believed and believe that they can keep it a prisoner by cutting off its wings, and have thus made it dull and deficient. Winged science would be wisdom. As it is only partial understanding. And did my mother reply to you that day? Yes, she did, with perfect lucidity and chaste words, suitable to be heard by a boy and to adults of different sex, so that none of us had to blush. What was it about? The original sin, Master. I wrote your mother's explanation so that I would remember it, says Syntyche. And John of Endor also says, so did I. I think it will be one of the points we will be asked to clarify if we go among the Gentiles one day. But I do not think I will be going because... Why, John? Because I will not live long. But would you go willingly? More than many people in Israel, because I am not biased. And also, yes, also because I have set a bad example among the Gentiles at Sintium and in Anatolia. I would have liked to do some good where I did wrong. The good to be done, take your word there and make you known. But it would have been too great an honor. I do not deserve it. Jesus looks at him smiling, but does not say anything in that connection. He asks, and have you no other questions to ask? I have one. It occurred to me the other evening when you were talking to the boy about idleness. I endeavored to find an answer, but I was not successful. I intended to wait until the Sabbath and ask you, when our hands are not active and our souls, in your hands, are elevated to God, says Syntyche. You may ask me now, while we are awaiting bedtime. This is it, Master. You said that those who become slack in their spiritual work grow feeble and are predisposed to spiritual diseases. Is that right? Yes, woman. Now that appears to me to be in contrast with what I have heard from you and from your mother on original sin, its effects in us, and the fact that we will be freed from it through you. You taught me that redemption will cancel the original sin. I do not think that I am wrong if I say that it will not be canceled in everybody, but only in those who believe in you, which is true. So I will not take into account the others, but only one of those who have been saved. I will consider him after the effects of redemption. His soul is no longer stained with original sin. He is therefore once again in the possession of grace as our first parents were. Does that then not give his soul a strength unassailable by any weakness? You will say, man commits personal sins also. I agree. But they will vanish as well through your redemption. I will not ask you how. But I suppose that you will leave some means, some symbols, as evidence that your redemption has actually taken place. And I do not know how it will happen, although what is referred to you in the Holy Book makes one shudder. And I hope that it will be a symbolical suffering. confined to the morale, although moral grief is not a false impression, and is perhaps more dreadful than physical pain. You will leave some means, some symbols. Every religion has them, and at times they are called mysteries. The baptism, at present in force in Israel, is one, is it not? It is. Also in my religion there will be signs of my redemption to be applied to souls to purify, strengthen, enlighten, support, nourish, and absolve them, but with a different name from the one mentioned by you. So, if they are absolved also of personal sins, they will always be in grace. So how can they be weak and predisposed to spiritual diseases? I will make a comparison for you. Let us take a newborn baby who is healthy and strong and was born of very healthy parents. He has no physical hereditary taint. His body is perfect, both with regard to its skeleton and its organs, and his blood is wholesome. He has therefore all the necessary requisites to grow strong and sound, also because his mother has plenty nourishing milk. But in the early days of his life he suffered from a very serious disease of unknown origin. It was a real deadly disease. He recovers with difficulty by the mercy of God, who keeps him alive when life was on the point of departing from his little body. Well, do you think that later that boy will be as strong as if he never had that disease? No, he will suffer from an everlasting state of debility. Even if it is not evident, it will still be there, and he will be predisposed to diseases with greater ease than if he had never been ill. Some organ of his will not to be as wholesome as previously, and his blood will not be quite so strong and pure as previously, and thus he will catch illnesses more easily. And such illnesses, every time he contracts them, will make him more exposed to be taken ill. The same applies in the spiritual field. The original sin will be cancelled in those who believe in me, but their souls will still have an inclination to sin, which they would not have had there been no original sin. It is therefore necessary to continuously watch and take care of one's soul, as a solicitous mother does with her little son, who has been left weak by an infantile disease. So you must not be idle, but always active to grow stronger in virtue. If one falls into sluggishness or tepidity, one will be more easily seduced by Satan. And each grave sin, which is like a serious relapse, will always predispose one to diseases and spiritual death. But if grace, restored by redemption, is assisted by an active, indefatigable will, it will remain. Nay, it will increase, because it will be associated with the virtue achieved by man. Holiness and grace, which safe wings to fly to God. Have you understood? Yes, my Lord, you, that is the most holy Trinity, give the basic means to man. Man with his work and care must not destroy it. I understand. Every grave sin destroys grace, that is the health of the spirit. The signs which you will leave us will give health back, that is true, but an obstinate sinner who does not struggle to avoid sin will become weaker each time, even if he is forgiven each time. One must therefore be vigilant in order not to perish. Thank you, Master. Margium is waking up. It's late. Yes. Let us pray all together, and then we will go to rest. Jesus stands up, imitated by everybody, also by the boy still half asleep. And the Our Father resounds, loud and harmonious, in the little room. This has been a reading from the poem of the Man God, written by Marie Valtorta, Volume 3, Chapter 306, Part 2, An Evening at Home in Nazareth. Thank you for listening. I will see you tomorrow. May God bless you, and may peace be with you.